Okay, the most important part about working on these cars is it's a relic, so you got to treat it like a relic. See over here, you can see from like years and decades of abuse, there's a little hammer mark over here. Some jamoch decided to pop it on with a sledgehammer. Not a good idea to do. So I like to take a look at the cars beforehand and find out exactly what kind of stuff they've been going through, the kind of abuse, the kind of loving care. You know how it is. Before we get the wheel off, we have something called a speedometer cable. It's attached to the little cap over here. So what we want to do is take this little puppy off. You can use a variety of methods. I like to use a little pin because I don't like to put too much force on the pin to take it off. So here we go. Here's the little pin. We put this in a very safe place, which I will no doubt lose very quickly. Okay, you got a little cap over here. What do we do with the cap? Of course we want to take it off. So we get some kind of a tool over here. We come along the sides here. I'm sure Volkswagen has some kind of a tool to do it very easily years ago. But while the wheel is still on here, you want to take a long screwdriver here and just pop it along the little ridges over here and just work it out little by little. Remember, this is an old piece of machinery. You got to treat it with respect. So a little bit of here, a little bit of there, just like making some tomato sauce. Just the right touch. You don't want to go too crazy. You don't want to go overboard. You just want to see what happens each time you add a little bit of effort. Whoa, here we go. Here's the nice cap. It looks like it was nicely greased. And what do you know? We had a real German working on this car before because he put the real grease in there. And we got all the proper stuff and proper hardware in place. So the next thing we want to do is take a little piece over here, a little Allen wrench. And what we want to do is take that Allen wrench, put it right here, and loosen this nut. Okay, we got the jack stand there, we got the jack, we got this all popped up, nice and safe, and we're gonna get right in there with an Allen wrench. So this is how it was before. I turned the wheel nicely, just to see how the action is. I just see a little scuffing on the brake pads. Other than that, I'm moving it back and forth, and it feels fine. Guess what? Volkswagen puts a reverse thread on here, so what do? You make believe you tighten this thing. And what happens? It comes off. Isn't that a beautiful thing? It's for a safety issue. I love these cars. Craziest cars in the world, but they keep on running and running and running. And on top of that, they make it so you can keep on rebuilding it forever and ever and ever. What a beautiful piece of engineering, even though it's old. This car is a 1974 Volkswagen Super Beetle. And you know what? These drums still come off easy. I had a hell of a time on my Volkswagen, on my Honda Pilot actually. I had to take like the hammer of Thor to get those freaking things off. And what do we got here? Look at this thing. Is this not a thing of beauty or what? So we just kind of like ease it out and just make sure you take these precious little bearings and these little washers and put them someplace really, really safe because they deserve it. They've been around for a long, long time and they want to be around for a much longer time as well. So here, you could put it in the same way that you took it off. And now what happens? You get this beautiful piece of thing off. And we got a beautifully greased spindle over here. But look at these brake pads. They look pretty bad. You know what? We're gonna replace those. So as I was saying, we look over here and we take a look here and we see that there's liquid there. That's no good. That's no good. That means the seals are leaking on the cylinders there. So what we want to do is we want to remove that cylinder, remove the brake line, put a new cylinder in there. So this guy was loosened up a little bit. We'd go in there with a wrench and take the rest of this guy off and be on our happy way. We'll be very careful here and we'll take out these springs. Put them right underneath in the same orientation. We want to make sure that we put them in the exact same Wait. Try taking this puppy off over here with a bigger tool, and voila, it works. Put it on the ground, same orientation. Because if you take a look over here, you see these have two specific coils. They're meant for different locations. This one over here is meant for the spindle hub. This one over here is meant for the brake shoe. Don't forget that. Okay. Now we do the same thing. There's one more spring up here. Yeah, we can't get it off. Okay. And if we look at this one over here, we see it's symmetrical between both of these little coils at the end here. Very nice. We put this on top. We got one shoe over here, and we want to put this down exactly the way it was oriented because it's not symmetrical. You have to make sure you put the new one back in the same configuration. You put it on the floor right next to it. Okay. Same thing over here. You take this puppy, you turn this piece, voila, these springs come out. Pretty much, you put it on the ground, and you take the shoe off. Okay, remember the orientation again. Pop it down. Here we go. Look at this piece of shit. Okay, it's an old cylinder. It says Varga on there. Don't know what that means, but its time has come. Its time is gone. Now we're gonna get a new cylinder. That's how life works. Here we go. These adjusters are still really good. Not bad at all. So we'll just put these down. We're gonna clean them up a bit. So what you want to do is clean these up a little bit before we put them back in. Use a wire brush or something like that. Just make sure they go in nice and smoothly. Okay. Now, when we were growing up, my dad, as he maintained this car, he made sure he had everything that was MP brand. MP was usually the best replacement market parts you could get, and it used to be made in Germany. Now guess what? Guess what? It says, where we go? Made in China. What a surprise. Okay, well, it looks good enough. That's a brand new one over here. We'll put it in and see how it goes. So yeah, he used to buy all the MP stuff. He was a pretty cheap guy, but he made sure his Volkswagen had the best parts. He let us eat hot dogs and all kinds of other pizza crap, but he did buy the best parts for his car. So let's stick this puppy on. Okay. First thing we do is we attach the line first. We want to make sure the line is on there perfectly, and then we could wiggle and jiggle this and put it on with the bolt. No problem. There you go. Snug as a bug in a freaking rug. Give it a nice little snug fit there. And we got our new cylinder mounted. Make sure these two little slots are lined up. You could easily turn these and adjust it. And those are going to be the slots for your drum brakes. Okay. This is what I've been using here. Mobile 1 synthetic grease for bearings. It's a high temperature, super high lubricious properties. So this is what I do. I just give it a little taste of this stuff. It's beautiful stuff here. Put a little bit on the threads. That's all it takes. Nice little dab. And then we'll put it over here. Pop it right in, oh so gently. Make sure it gets underneath the spring. Okay. And you're okay. So, now you can see these things work properly. And then you can put them all the way in for now, or midway point, until we start adjusting things. Okay. One in here and one in there. Beautiful. What is it missing? It's missing a spring, of course. So we pop this spring here. So I'm going to do the same thing that everybody else does on YouTube. And the way this works is you take a little scoop of grease, and what you do is you just like pound it to try and get it in between those rows there. And that's what the goal is. You want to get it in between those rollers. Not a pretty thing, but that's really how you do it. Just keep on pounding it, forcing it in there. Force it in those grooves. When you think you got most of it done, try forcing even more. Okay. What a mess. Something reassuring and soothing about this. Okay, now we'll just put
this puppy on, as if it never came off. Beautiful. Okay, and we grease the spindle as well. Okay, we get some in there, we just put down the cable is. And we got ourselves a nice greased spindle. Okay, guess what? Time for the drum to go on.
Here is one of the most important things to know. On the driver's side, we have a left-hand thread on the axle nut. Really important. You go to any kind of garage nowadays, you're just going to try and unscrew it, they're going to break a thread. You turn it clockwise and you actually loosen it. So here's how you set the bearing. And these bearings are pretty important because these are two-piece bearings on each side, cage bearings. So the force that you apply with the nut is proportional on your bearing force. These are not caged, enclosed bearings that you have in a regular car. So you have to be careful when you do it. The upside is that they're real easy to work with, real easy to replace, and they last a long time if you grease them. So here's what you do. To set it nice, you tighten it up here, right? Remember, what you do is counterclockwise to tighten, and you seat down the bearing, give it a little snug, you seat the bearing. Now take a look at this washer over here. This washer is purposely has an oversized hole in it so you can move it around. Why do you want to move around a washer, you may ask? Okay, here's the reason. This washer is supposed to be, if it's loose, you should be able to move it with your screwdriver, right? Now I'm trying to move it right now, I cannot move it. So what you do is after you seat your bearing, you take your wrench and then you, wherever the hell the wrench is now, oh here it is, and then you loosen it up by turning it clockwise, okay, and see if you can move that little washer around. Oh, look at this. Maybe a little bit too loose, okay? So you tighten this a little bit more. All right. Am I still able to move it? Yep. A little bit more by hand. Can I move it? I could just about move it, yeah. Okay. That, my friend, is a perfectly set bearing, okay? So you should be able to do it with your hand pretty snugly. And that should be all it really takes. Okay? Once you got it like that, what you do is you tighten the lock nut here. Just a standard thread. Give it a nice little snug. And then send it home. Again, use this nice rosy red grease over here. Nice stuff. Smush it on. Put it on. Don't be stingy. It's only $9 a little cup. This is Mobile One synthetic grease. Good for just about everything except personal needs. For that, we got other stuff. Nice and red, almost looks like stage makeup. Need a little rouge for Carmen? Just get this stuff, put it right on. Also, one more note about bearings is it's from all the Volkswagen aficionados, the rule of thumb is it's better to have a slightly too loose a bearing than a slightly too tight a bearing. Sometimes the bearing is too tight, it might overheat, seize up, and you got problems. A loose bearing will start giving you some noise if it's too loose. That gives you like at least a warning sign at least. pull out this downward cable as far as you can. Keep it pretty horizontal, that way you'll know that it's supposed to be upright. And then you put this in and you hope that you're on target. Sometimes needs a little coaxing out over here. There we go. And you take your little circlip and you just try and pop it on here. Like that. Take a little condenser and you're all set. That deserves a little dab, just like a cherry on top. There you go. Passenger wheel, done. Oops, I'm sorry, driver's wheel.